Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name is Suj.
And my name is James.
We're going back up the country, James, to the northwest of England. Where are we now?
We are in the sunshine, and we really are at the moment as well, actually. Gary looked out his window because he was still in shock about that.
There's no sunshine here.
Let me introduce you to our Manchester United correspondent, Gary Robinson. How are you, Gary?
I'm good, thank you. How are you two?
Yeah,
we are well, thank you, mate. We are well. We're in the final stretch of this week now, mate. Let's start with, because I don't think you've really had the opportunity to give comment on the podcast about it properly. On Erik Ten Hag.
I think got to give him a chance. Like any new manager, his CV looks good, but I think that it's a massive risk as well. He's done well at Ajax, but playing, it is the Dutch league. A lot of managers have done well at Ajax and achieved trophies and things like that, and then not gone on to achieve, what you'd call the top level. And I think whilst it'd be unfair to judge Ten Hag too early, that still needs to be remembered that he's only done it in the Dutch league so far, managing the biggest club in the country, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it'll translate into the Premier League. But I've got to give him a chance. He seems to have a set philosophy, a way of playing. He seems to be happy to give players that are already at the squad a chance, which might backfire on him. He might regret that, but equally, he's not come in and demanded, hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds to spend. So I think that, I think he deserves a bit of credit for that. But the proof will be in the pudding next season if we can win a trophy and get the top four.
What's the expectations for the immediate?
I think he's got to get us playing good football. Again, enjoyable to watch, and we've got to have a good start, and he's got to get that feel good factor back, because given how poor last season was, if we have a slow start to this season, it could very, very quickly go wrong for him. I mean, Solskjaer started last season, on a bit of a high. We were second. We got to a European final, and that went wrong. Not immediately. We had a decent-ish start, but that went wrong pretty quickly. And once it went, it went seriously wrong. And the same thing could happen next season. You just don't know. And a lot of these players have been through a lot of managers now, and it wouldn't be a massive surprise if Ten Hag can't get a tune out of them. But I hope I'm wrong. But these players have spat out bigger managers than Ten Hag already. So yeah, it could go either way. But in terms of what he's got to do first, we've got to start scoring goals as a team again. I think we had our worst Premier League goals tally last season. And he's just got to get us just playing enjoyable football. And so I don't think there's many expectations on him. If we finish fifth next season, I don't think that will be, he won't be seen as a failure for that. It'll be a poor season again, but I think he's got a low bar, and that might play that might help him. That might play to his strengths then.
I do like the way he carries himself off the pitch, the way he speaks. He's got a business-like kind of demeanor. He's there. He's not there to muck about. He's got a job to do. He knows what he wants to achieve. I like the way he's been in the press. I like the way he seems to be in press conferences and around players and stuff. And I think his lead by example and let's get down to business probably instills a bit of confidence in some of the players. And I think the players that you kind of are talking about that have been a bit out in the cold that he might bring back in a little bit more, Rashford and Martial and so on that we can talk about, I think it will give them confidence if he's coming in and giving them a chance, because I don't think anyone thinks they're bad players. They just haven't been delivering. But I think his style looks like it will bring the best out of these guys.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, the only worry I've got with that is that I think we all thought the same about Rangnick when he came in, and that went wrong so quickly. It was so obvious within a month that they didn't fancy him. Now, maybe that's just because they knew he was an interim and that there was no respect there for him. But yeah, I haven't got any concerns over Ten Hag as such. It's just my concerns is that group of players and how easily they seem to turn on a manager and the performances just go. They don't have a little drop off; they just completely disappear. They did it to Solskjaer at the end, and Solskjaer was, a club legend and was well liked by all the players. But as soon as they couldn't, as soon as they didn't respect him anymore, the results were embarrassing. 4-1 at Watford, who got relegated with 30 points or whatever. That's my worry. I haven't got to worry about Ten Hag as such. It's how those players react to him and their attitudes towards him. That's the concern.
Do you think the fan base hold the players accountable as a whole? Because I'd say your support's quite patient. I don't know if that's Sir Alex Ferguson's words lingering from when he left. Give the new man a chance, and obviously, it didn't work out. He was gone in 10 months and stuff. But I would say that your fan base, even like with Mourinho, with Solskjaer at the end, we've been very patient in terms of. I can't recall we want Van Gaal out or anything like that going on at Old Trafford.
No.
The anger's very much been directed to upstairs, which we understand the reasons why.
Yeah.
But is it coming to a point where the crowd are going to hold a lot of these players accountable? We've obviously seen. I'm not condemning obviously booing of Harry Maguire and stuff is ridiculous actually, but in terms of the kind of there might be a disconnection happening between crowd and players. Particularly when the world-class superstar decides he wants to not come to training and ask for a transfer.
Yeah, it's an odd one, isn't it? Because it usually now, fan bases are quite quick to turn on players, aren't they? And
yours aren't,
especially on social media. And you do see
not
that
the
a lot.
match-going crowd, anyway.
No,
is what I'd say.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't think. I think. And I don't know if I don't even know how true I think this is, but I think there's an assumption from a lot of the fans that a lot of these players have been hard done to in terms of a high turnover of managers and managers who haven't understood the type of player we've got. And I think there's always been that level of understanding and sympathy towards the players that, it's not Rashford's fault. He's not scored, blah, blah, blah. It's because he's not been used properly by X, Y, and Z, or Solskjaer's a limited manager, only counter-attack, so he's not getting the best out of, Pogba or, Martial or whoever. Mourinho was quite a defensive-minded coach as well, and I think that, I think people were happy to blame Mourinho for players' issues there, and I wonder if that assumption's there and it's just stuck because, like I've said, a lot of these players have been there a while now, through a long trophyless spell, by United standards anyway. Probably the longest spelled out trophy for 40, 50 years. They're all on good money. You've seen the stories about Jesse Lingard and what he had to do to, he wanted a similar wage to what he was getting at United and things like that. So these are quite average players on good money. But yeah, there doesn't ever really seem to have been a consensus that the players are at fault. I mean, Pogba was a bit of a lightning rod. He got a lot of criticism as a player. But other than that, and Maguire's getting a bit, but a lot of that's people jumping on the bandwagon. And I think Maguire does deserve some criticism because of his performances and his attitude. But I don't think, other than it's been really, apart from Pogba, none of the players have ever really been deemed at fault. It's always been the manager and the Glazers, and I can't see that changing this season because I think they'll get behind Ten Hag and the new team, as it were, and try and give him a chance.
Right, let's timestamp this. It's Thursday lunchtime. This isn't going to go out till Saturday morning. So in the case of Ronaldo, something obviously could change between discussing it now and when this goes out. But currently, he seems to be standing firm. He's now met Ten Hag. He's saying he does want to leave the football club. United are saying they don't want to sell him. No one wants him. It seems like only United want him to me, as far as I can read. How do you feel about what's happened with him over the last couple of weeks, and how do you see it progressing over the next couple of weeks?
Can I just clarify, James? When you say no one wants him, no one wants to pay for him, because I think plenty of clubs would take him at the right price.
All right,
but his salary is ridiculous, because we talk about commercial endorsements, right? If he signed for Spurs, you're going to make loads of money on the commercial endorsement.
But we wouldn't
want to give him £500,000.
The point I'm saying is, if he was offered to us, we wouldn't take it. But that's what
£100,000 a week.
Obviously, look, he would go and play for. I'm sure Stockport County would love to have him, with respect, right? But obviously, the wages and stuff doesn't match up. You know what I'm saying? He's limited. He's limited in terms of where he can go. We're talking kind of top 20 clubs in the world at best, right? How do you see this going?
Well, I don't understand why we're so desperate to keep him. You know, the idea that, you know, Alex Ferguson's driving to Carrington to help save the deal and all this, that I just, you know, if he doesn't want to be there, let him go. We sold him in 2009. Just let him go. If you don't want to be there, he's 37 years old. Like Suj says, he's on £500,000 a week. You know, just let him go. Is Martial going to step up? Who knows? But we would look a more fluid, modern front three if we had Martial, Sancho, and Rashford playing.
We'd possibly go and buy Ronaldo. It's worth saying, I think, as well, mate.
Well, that's it. It would certainly free up some wage money to buy a decent forward. Whether we could afford, you know, the transfer fee for a decent one, I don't know. But yeah, if he doesn't want to be there, just let him go. When he's not, you know, when we sold him in 2009, he was the best player in the world, and obviously we suffered without him. But even then, you know, it meant that Rooney got 35 goals the next season, or I thought just under 35. You know, he's not irreplaceable now, and yeah, just let him go. You know, I think it's the best for everyone.
Who will take him?
Well, I don't know, but that's for him to worry about, isn't it? They should just say release his contract. Yeah, because what kind of transfer fee we'll be looking at for him? Probably a nominal.
Do you think the club are thinking about the commercial side? And do you think the decision to keep him, if that's true, and I don't expect Man United to come out and say we're selling him, but we know the ITKs are in the know, and they're all saying, look, United are adamant they want to keep him. Do you think that decision is coming from upstairs, or do you think that's coming from the manager?
I would be staggered if Ten Hag wants him.
He makes all the noises that he does. That said, again, he can't come out and say, actually, yeah, I want to sell him. He can't, can he?
Yeah. No, he can't, no. But I just, you know, from what I've seen of Ten Hag and his style and what we've seen in pre-season, and obviously take pre-season with a pinch of salt, but how is he going to fit Ronaldo into that kind of system, into that team? It's, you know, you've got three forwards there who are quite fluid, interchangeable, and all that kind of thing. What, you know, we saw last season with Ronaldo, he's, you know, the team has to be built around him, and he's just not. He's not worth a team being built around him anymore. He got 18 league goals last season, but which is decent, but it's not super numbers. That is it, 18. We our top scorer of the season before got 18 league goals. The season before that, we had 2 of them on 17. He isn't giving us anything that we didn't already have.
He is, in many people's eyes, the greatest footballer of all time. And I think that's those who think that, I don't have a problem with it. It's absolutely fine. He single-handedly beat my team at Old Trafford in March with the hat-trick. Phenomenal display of finishing. He also scored a brilliant goal at White Hart Lane in the reverse fixture early in the season as well. So he scored 4 times against my team last season. Important goals. I know how good he is in front of goal. No one is ever going to question that or his ability shown previously. However, I think those of us who are intrigued to see what's going to happen with Ten Hag's United, and when I say those of us intrigued, I mean those of us who are in and around the top 4 spots. I'd be very surprised if fans of other clubs weren't sitting there right now thinking, I hope Ronaldo stays. Because that's how I feel. I feel if he stays and he plays every week, you can't finish top 4. Well, not you can't, but I don't think you will.
Yeah.
If he goes, the fluidity in the system might click really quickly and you become a different beast. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking, United are a threat. I hope Ronaldo stays. Even though when we play you twice this season, he might beat us on his own. But I know there will be more games where you'll struggle and stuff with that. Someone said,
definitely.
I think it was the always cheating boys, but the phrase that was used was, with Ronaldo, you basically start with a 1-goal advantage, but you're a man short.
Yeah.
And I think that sums it up so well, because he is a phenomenon, but individually he's a phenomenon. That's where it's at, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the 4 against Tottenham. Obviously, you got 3 against Norwich in a hat-trick as well.
So I think you got four against us, 4 against Norwich.
4 against Norwich,
3 against Arsenal.
Yeah, 2 against Newcastle on his return.
That's 13 of the goals. There's only another 5.
Yeah, there was a long spell between sort of January and March-ish where we had that really good run and everyone piled into United assets in fantasy games, and he went goalless for 7 in a row, and that coincided with us going from in and around the 3rd and 4th race to 6th, battling out for 6th and 7th, and needing Brighton to do us a favour on the last day to stay 6th, and and he got us through the Champions League group as well. So I'm not saying he's a complete waste, but as an overall, I mean, we scored 57 goals last season, which is I think, or 50. Yeah, I think it was 57, which is our lowest total in Premier League history, I think. So
to go with your lowest points as well. Worst goal difference. There's loads, yeah.
Yeah. So I just don't think he's worth it, and I can't see him. Well, clearly he doesn't want to be there. He's not going to. If he gets made stay, is he going to be happy being, a bit part player? And if he stays, he's going to play towards the end. You can't bench him, can you? You can't have £500,000 sat on the bench. But his demeanour won't do well being on the bench. I mean, look what happened when he got brought off against Brentford last season. He was, the arms were up and all that. So I'm sure he's a good example to players with his professionalism and the way he looks after himself. But I don't think his attitude would necessarily be a good example to younger players.
Well, that's it. What example does it set to the rest of the squad, knowing that the superstar, who many of them will obviously look up to him. I'm sure they don't all. Some of them probably think he's not right. But I'm sure a lot of them really look up to him and possibly a little bit intimidated by him, maybe, and see that he wants to go. And then, what does Bruno think of that, for example? Bruno's a top player. Does he look at that and start questioning himself, for example? Bruno, ironically, might be better without Ronaldo again. Huh?
That whole phone slapping incident as well, which just taste, and you're like, come on, man, you've got to be better than that if you are the role model and the icon. I thought he got away with that too lightly, that incident.
Yeah, it just seemed to disappear into nothing, that, didn't it? It's not really been spoken about since. So no, I can't see him being a good influence if he wants to. I mean, because let's be honest, in his last season at United, the first time round, all of this was, we had all this. Then he was, and obviously he was agitating to go then, and we let him go. The proof's there that he's not going to be a good squad player, is he? He's, like you said, James, if he stays, he's going to play every week. And
don't worry, James. Who's the club that's got to mention in every pod this week?
I mean, even honestly, they were even mentioned. Barcelona were even mentioned
Barcelona.
about, and
They seem to
honestly,
have money that no one else does.
Gary's shaking his head.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like,
Well,
honestly, I mean, that would be the
I mean,
shocking of all
Lewandowski's gone,
shock
hasn't
transfers.
he?
Well,
Yeah.
you would think. Yeah, this is it with
Yeah.
Ronaldo. Like, I genuinely, if Chelsea looked like it might, Tuchel apparently has put his foot down and said no. I don't know if something might happen above him, which could lead to a serious Chelsea rift between them and the manager. Atletico don't want him. Real ain't going to take him back. One of the Italian clubs, maybe.
They don't have the money, do they?
Napoli's been mentioned. But I mean, is he that desperate to stay in the Champions League? Is that what this is?
But, yeah, I don't know. I just can't think of an obvious route for him where he could go.
Where does he go that's better than Manchester United? And we've all taken the piss out of the club a little bit over the last year or so. But no, honestly, where does Cristiano Ronaldo go for his career that's better than being at Manchester United? Wherever he goes is a step down, because you could make a case he's at the biggest club in the world. And okay, you're not challenging for the Champions League next year. I get that. If he goes to Napoli, does he think he's going to win the Champions League at Napoli, for example? It's not realistic, is it?
No.
So does he even have the right to think that he himself should be part of a team that's challenging for the Champions League?
Well, this is it. I mean, this is everyone's like, oh, well, it's Ronaldo, he deserves the Champions League and things like that. It's like, well, if he does, he shouldn't have. He had the chance to stay in the Champions League last season and was dreadful in 2 games against Atletico Madrid as we went out. Now, we were probably never going to win that tournament, but it doesn't help when Ronaldo, doesn't score in two of the knockout games. So, yeah, it's fair enough he got 6 or 7 in the group stages, but like you say, is he actually... which team would have him? I mean, Bayern Munich, he wouldn't get in the Bayern Munich team, would he? They wouldn't take him. None of the other English top 4 would take him. I'd be surprised if Chelsea... I mean, the Chelsea owners might want him and a part of the new project and all that sort of thing. And they've obviously got their investment bankers, aren't they? So maybe they'd see the financial worth of him. But yeah, he's not going to... I can't see him in the Thomas Tuchel side, can you? I mean, look how much Lukaku struggled in that Tuchel side last season. Some of that might have been Lukaku's fault, but a lot of it was the team just wasn't set up for a sort of a centre forward, really. And I just don't think, I just can't see a route for him, and we'll probably end up sticking with him, I would have thought.
It feels, listen, whatever happens, it's not going to change the fact he's one of the greatest players of all time, one of Manchester United's greatest ever players, right? Nothing's gonna change that, but it does feel for United to be better off staying aside. That's my opinion. Anyway, I'm sure there's plenty of United fans desperate for him to stay, and there's plenty of people disagree.
Oh, there will be. Yeah, it'll be 50-50. There'll be loads of people who... I
fear United more if he goes. There you go. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
How do you think? Yeah. And this is difficult to read at this second. What's the potential impact for the interest in FPL players? So Martial, presumably, if Ronaldo stays, becomes a really difficult call, whereas he becomes a great buyer potentially if he goes. I'm going to guess nothing's going to get finalised one way or the other before the season starts, unless it comes out, I'm staying, like what happened with Kane. But how would Ronaldo affect someone like Rashford? Are we expecting Rashford to just generally be better, for example? Or does Ronaldo being part of that team potentially either help or hinder?
Well, based on last season, there's no evidence that he's going to help any of the other forwards, is there? He sucked a lot of all the chances and all the goals were scored by him, really. Everyone else's output diminished a lot, didn't it? Fernandes went from 18 goals to about 10. Rashford hasn't scored a goal as a starter for over a year now.
Great start.
Sancho, yeah. The last time Rashford started a game and scored was against Liverpool when we got beat 4-2 in when Liverpool were going for the top 4 that year when the Van Dijk injury hit them. Sancho wasn't great last season, but that might have just been, getting acclimatised to the league and things. So there's no evidence that Ronaldo being there is going to help Rashford, Martial, Sancho. You know,
let me rephrase it then. If Ronaldo goes, are you more interested in these players for FPL?
If Ronaldo's still there, I probably won't have any in my team anyway, but I would definitely won't be buying any of them at the start. I mean, Ten Hag has come out and said that Martial will start the season, but you know, that's probably because Ronaldo's not had any training, etc. But Ronaldo's not going to sit on the bench for too long, is he? If he stays.
I'm in agreement that I'll only own attacking United assets if Ronaldo's not there.
Yeah.
Agree. And if Ronaldo's not there, then they all become like rush. The one advantage of average to shit season last year is they're all cheap now. So
I know,
that's the thing,
some of the
right?
price
and even Bruno at 10 million, like if he replicates the season before last with no Ronaldo, then he's a bargain at 10 million. They only become interesting for me if Ronaldo's not there.
Rashford's in for me at the moment, and that's not to say he will be once we hit the deadline on Friday, but he's in for me at the moment. I look at it and go, if he can get near what he provided in the 2 seasons before last season, at 6.5, he could explode. You're looking at what the previous
174, James.
It's the numbers of the returns. I think it's what 22 attacking returns 2 seasons ago, and 25 the season before that, both leveling out at kind of like 175 average as points across the 2 seasons. Obviously, last year injury hit. I suspect he's a big reason behind what happened. He's obviously only played sort of 1,200 minutes. I think he shouldn't have gone to the Euros because he was injured. And then I think that kind of came into United's season and stuff. But by all accounts, he's had a good pre-season. He looks fit. I think the rest time's done him good as well. And I think, am I expecting the world from him at that price to start with? No. But I think of what he could be.
Yeah. But if Ronaldo's there, you wouldn't keep him, would you? Or would you?
I'm on the assumption that Ronaldo's staying at the moment.
Right.
So
and you still have him in your team.
I would envisage, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I think United's likely team, if Ronaldo stays, would be Rashford left, Sancho right. They could obviously alternate Fernandes behind Ronaldo. Is that wrong? Or more of a 3 with Fernandes? Might be like 2 8s and a 6.
Yeah. I think that's what it'll probably end up being. But like I say, I mean, Ten Hag has said that Martial will start the season, but you know, does that mean 1 game, 2 games, or?
Well, yeah, no, I think whatever happens with Ronaldo's not going to start against Brighton.
No
pre-season. He's got no right to. But I think the danger of buying Martial would be after a few weeks, if Ronaldo is still there, there will be pressure from above to play Ronaldo, I'm certain.
Yeah.
It will become political, I think. Even if Ten Hag wants to keep Martial in the team, he's going to have some grapefruits to keep leaving him on the bench and stuff. And I think, by the way, that would potentially be a great use of him. Is when you need a goal with half hour to go. What a player to bring on. That's like the flip side of it, isn't it? And you could use him.
Yeah, definitely.
Martial is not under consideration for that reason. But I think if it was like it came out tomorrow, right, he's going to Chelsea, I would consider Martial instantly.
Yeah, that's the same. I mean, if we know for a fact that Ronaldo's gone, then I would consider Martial at 7 million, because again, I think you go a bit further back for Martial's season, but you know, he got 17 goals and 9? I can't remember now, but he had a 200 point season. He was down as a midfielder then, but he had a 200 point season 3 years ago. So you know it's there for him. You know, but yeah, all of that is irrelevant if Ronaldo stays, unfortunately.
So you think it makes both Rashford and Sancho no-goes? In fact, you know what? Let's remove Ronaldo from the conversation for a moment because it would get a bit repetitive. Sancho versus Rashford. Is Sancho worth paying $1 million more than Rashford, just generally?
I think he probably will be, but I think given that you come in at this fresh, that you gamble, whoever you pick from United at the minute, you're gambling on. You're hoping that they hit form from 2 years ago, 3 years ago. given that you're gambling, and given that if you pay 7.5 for Sancho, you're probably thinking, look, there's all them £8 million midfielders that everyone's going on about. You'd be better off finding another $500,000, I think, probably for the 8 million. I think Sancho will score more points than Rashford, but will he score £1 million worth of more points? I mean, probably not. But the thing with Rashford is, again, like you hope you're gambling that something happens. There's no real basis to buy him. You're taking a punt on it, aren't you?
Yeah, I'd rather take the punt that saves $1 million and still allows me one of the 8.0s.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Where do you see Christian fitting in? Christian Eriksen?
Don't know. I don't know if he's been bought as backup for Fernandes, or whether he sees him that he can play in the midfield. In the midfield three. Interesting. I would hope that we're brave enough to try and let him play in the midfield with Fernandes. But I don't know how realistic that is, given that it doesn't look like De Jong's going to be here, certainly for the start of the season, if at all. And then, if could you risk playing a three of, say, Fred, Eriksen and Fernandes? I mean, you'd have to have Ten Hag would have to have a lot of faith in himself to.
I think certain games you could.
That.
But there's a danger, even like playing like Brighton opening day. We obviously just spoke to Sam and stuff. There's nothing to say they won't come to your place and dominate the ball, right? Then it becomes quite dangerous.
Precisely, yeah.
That run at the start is not very not great. And then you mentioned there, James, Eriksen. I mean, the other one, Donny van de Beek as well. How does he get into the team? Like, it's either him or Eriksen. But if you had a midfield three of Fernandes, one of those two, and then Fred, I think that's too lightweight. Yeah,
it could. It's very. It could easily become.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say it could easily become very open. That couldn't it?
I'd quite like, if I'm looking at if I'm going to play United and I see your midfield as that and the players we've got, I'd quite fancy that. Even James, I think with Bentancur, Højbjerg, you're like, they're going to get about that midfield.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the first thing I'd think with that is Harry Kane dropping in and what he could do. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, precisely. So then you start thinking, right, so if we're going to keep playing Fred and McTominay, then you haven't really got room for Eriksen and Fernandes, have you? Unless one of them's going to play, as a false nine or a wide left, but then you haven't got room for Martial,
I think it can work. But they've just got to be a little bit more of a flatter fray, which means putting the brakes on. I definitely think that Christian Eriksen could play a deep lying role in a two, not on his own with Fernandes and Alanga in front of him or something, right? That's off the table. But could he play as a free with another kind of protector that will do the shit bits of the game, if you will? Yeah, fine. Do I think they could play as 2/8s with Fred behind, for example? In certain games, yes. But take Brighton opening day, if that's the midfield three, I'd be very concerned for United off the ball.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's probably the best setup at the moment, is something like that.
Yeah. Well, and maybe Ten Hag thinks that he can play that kind of, but the problem with that is that Fernandes is very good, but he doesn't. What Fernandes likes to do, he likes that freedom to be able to play, a nice through ball or a cross-field pass, and he must give the ball away. Well, quite a lot. I don't know what the percentages are, but I bet his passing percentages is pretty low. Fred and McTominay aren't very good on the ball either. To then play Eriksen in there as well, you'd have to have so much faith that you can. For example, Man City could play Christian Eriksen in the midfield, couldn't they? With no one there, because they know that they're going to monopolise the ball, and there'd be no real risk to it. But United aren't going to keep the ball well enough to risk playing, Eriksen, Fernandes, and just one of, and say Fred. They're just not going to keep the ball well enough. So it might work against the smaller sides, but even against the smaller sides, we're at our best when, we're sort of counter-attacking and trying to get people on the front foot going. Even then, we don't keep the ball well. And maybe Ten Hag can bring that in. And there's nothing to say that he can't. But we haven't been a good possession side for, well, I don't know now, a long time.
Do you think you'll get De Jong?
I don't know. I think it's dragged on so long now, and I don't know if he actually wants to come, and he's just he wants those wages that he's owed, and if that's his attitude, then fair play to him. The idea that he can defer wages and Barcelona think they can get out of paying him is a bit of a disgrace, really. So because of that, it's hard to know whether he is actually desperate to stay at Barcelona.
Well, he has to keep saying that, in fairness. Maybe, for all we know, he does want to join you. He has to draw the line on he wants to stay. He has to.
Yeah, of course.
You could say he's earning hundreds of £1,000s a week and he's privileged, yes, but he is owed money that is his. And if he goes back on that, he doesn't get it.
Precisely. He's owed about 17 million euros, isn't he?
That's basically what he's going to get this coming year. Supposedly, yeah.
If he leaves the club, they don't have to pay him the deferred salary. Is that the way that they've set that up?
Yes, I believe so. If he wants to go,
right.
So basically, if Barca force him out, someone's got to cover that. Whether it's United, it could be that United cover it. God knows why they would. Someone in the middle's got to cover the money that he's owed.
Yeah.
We're talking about legal stuff here. Yeah, he is entitled to that money. It's his. It's not Barcelona's. It's his.
Yeah.
Barcelona owe a few people money. We talked about Bordeaux the other day, didn't we?
That's
10 million quid as well.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
When you owe over $1 billion,
I think it's
going to be a long list of people that you owe money to.
Yeah, definitely. I think the idea that Barcelona still owe clubs money is almost fine because a lot of transfer fees are spread out, aren't they, and amortised and all the rest of it. That's fine, and clubs do that all the time. But the idea that you can owe a player wages and try and not pay him, I'm surprised FIFA aren't involved, or UEFA, or whoever's jurisdiction is, and said, you owe this guy the money, and if he wants to leave, you want to sell him, that needs to become. That shouldn't be part of the conversation. He should just be paid his wages.
There's every chance they will get involved. They might.
Yeah, well, I mean, for his sake, I hope they do. And but as for him coming to United, I think that you just don't know. He genuinely might think, I'm sick of Barcelona. I'm not getting in the team, etc., etc. I want to work with Ten Hag, and he might want to come, but he can't come out and say that, like you say.
If it happens, it's going to be right at the end, isn't it?
Well, it's going to drag on and on now, isn't it?
Barca might get desperate where you end up paying like 30 million for him or something.
Well, possibly, yeah. Because
I think that's part of what United are thinking.
Yeah, well, because they must be at a point now where like they were last season, where they can't register new signings and all the rest of it. So, yeah. I mean, they're a bit of a joke at the minute, aren't they, Barcelona? It's ridiculous what they've been allowed to do, really. And you've done a podcast on it, haven't you? But selling future TV rights and things like that left, right, and centre, and it's like,
as I said to Suj off camera yesterday, I think they might be about to do something really silly in the next month or so to try and get more money. Anyway, that's not obviously the club we're talking about.
No.
Lisandro Martinez, happy?
Yeah, I mean, not unhappy. I won't pretend I've seen an awful lot of him, but looks like he might be someone that we need. Looks decent on the ball. I think which we've lacked.
I guess in theory, just jump in, Gary. He could play that sitting role.
Well,
we have heard that he can play that role.
Yeah, there is that. But again, does that? I don't know. He'd be good on the ball. Yeah. I don't know how often he's played that for Ajax. I'll be honest, but I mean, he could do. I mean, if he did, it might solve.
He's coming from Ajax. I'm sure he's technically better than what you've got.
He'll be technically better, but is there a chance that he gets overrun in the Premier League? But yeah, I mean, it would.
The end, wasn't it? 47 million.
Yeah, it's a decent sized transfer fee, so you would assume he's been bought to play quite a lot, and hopefully he does, because I mean, our defence last season was dreadful, and So yeah, hopefully he's been bought to play rather than to put pressure on Maguire and
Surely he's
Varane,
a starter,
etc.
whether it's centre back or not. Surely he's a
Well,
starter, isn't he?
you would think so, but I mean, I don't know who instead of, because I don't think he'll drop Maguire. Unfortunately, Varane's still there on decent money, So unless he's going to play in that midfield role, but I don't know how likely that is.
It might be the short-term fix to start the season to see how it gets on and play Varane and Maguire at centre back. Maguire's now playing on the right, isn't he? It looks like that's what's going to happen, which also enables Martinez to be comfortable on the left side of him. Is that better for Maguire playing right centre back?
I don't know. I've lost all faith in Maguire. I'll be totally honest. He was absolutely dreadful last season, which is fine. Players have bad spells, but it was his attitude with it that I think that wound me up. And I know a lot of people think he deserves a bit more. He's got credit in the bank and all that kind of thing, but I'm not sure how much credit in the bank he's really got as a United player. He's been captain for 3 years, not won a trophy. Worst, 57 goals conceded last season. He's always posting tweets about his own individual performances and stats. And when we've just got beat, his family are always on Twitter slagging the club off. I just got no time for him really. So I mean, maybe a move to the right will help him out, but it's whether he deserves. I just don't know. I just don't know why we're persisting with him. The evidence has been there for 18 months now that he's not going to take United to the next where they want to be.
The club's made a major investment in him that they're never going to get back. I guess is possibly part of it as well. I mean, if you were to sell him tomorrow, what are you getting?
Well, I know
half of what you paid. It's difficult to envisage that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I can't think who would take us. Everton might take Everton like a mad transfer, don't they? But I don't know who would.
Desperate for centre backs. You never know. You never know.
But I mean, you talk about the investment we've made in Maguire, but Rafa Varane's on some serious wages.
I bet he is.
Martinez, we've just spoken about, nearly 50 million quid. There's a lot, and that's before you get to, Phil Jones, who must be 7th choice centre back now. He's on.
I feel like Bailly, it's a few years ago. That wasn't a cheap signing either, right?
Yeah, so there's a lot of money sat there in transfer fees and wages. And at some point, someone's going to have to decide who the best two are, and everyone else needs to go. I think, well, you can't sell all of them, but
Who would you prefer to play out of Varane and Maguire?
Well, I'd say Varane, but the guy's never fit. You can't rely on him. For all Maguire's faults, he's always there. He always makes himself available. I think he played through injury a few times last season. To be fair to him, but yeah, I mean, in isolation, Varane's a far better footballer than Maguire is.
This time last year, Luke Shaw, Gary, do you remember?
I do, yeah.
You all had him.
You all had him. I didn't have him.
No, I know you didn't. You stuck to your guns very well, mate. It seems remarkable to think about it this time last year. He's obviously not in people's thoughts now. Is he starting left back though? Just briefly.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Are we expecting Malacia to play?
Well, I mean, yeah, they've obviously bought him last year, and they've obviously, I mean, £30 million isn't an awful lot of money, but they've obviously gone to the effort of scouting him and buying him and done that quite quickly. So there must be some sort of hope that he can become, a genuine contender at left back. But I'd be surprised if he goes straight in the first 11. And obviously Tellez is still at the club as well. I don't know how viable that is to have 3 left backs there. So yeah, I would think Luke Shaw will start the season, but again, it might be one of them that's very quickly Luke Shaw becomes second choice, or it might be one that we rotate a lot. Like the Spurs fullbacks will probably end up doing, another club probably. But yeah, I think Shaw will start the season as the starting left back.
The defensive name I'm seeing in a few teams is Dalot.
Yeah, 4.5 million. Will probably start the season as first choice as well. Has been sort of doing well, playing, sort of dropping into a midfield-ish type role. I haven't got an awful. I don't like the 4.5 million range for your defenders anyway. I think, given that there's a few, two obvious 4 million players who you could go for, and then we've all got the elite lot of, the Alexander Arnolds, Robertsons, Cancellos, etc. I just think that 4.5 is a bit of a, for me personally anyway, a bit of a dead spot. And Dalot's fair enough, he's done well in pre-season, but you need to see the United clean sheets are coming back. I think we've got 8 clean sheets last season. Dalot, the attacking returns have never really come from Dalot so far. It just feels a bit of a, it's 4.5 minutes, it's not the end of the world. It just feels a bit of a punt, and it just feels a bit unnecessary. Because if you put on Rashford and he get, for a fact he could get 10 in the first 4 and 3 assists or something. If you put on Dalot, what you expect, a couple of
people
assists.
Expecting back-to-back 15-pointers, mate. You know that.
Well, yeah, but you're not going to get that from a United defender, are you?
No, but then he's 4.5. It's low value risk, isn't it?
I know. I get that. I think
I'd say he's one of the best 4.5s potentially.
It's low value risk financially, James. But when I look at the whole squad, it's applicable for the whole squad in this debate. And I'm like, a punt with the fixtures for the first 6. Brighton at home is not going to be easy for you. Brentford away,
no.
They are the masters of the dark arts, but working out a way to get a result. Liverpool at home might be a repeat of last year, mate, to be honest.
Yeah.
Southampton away is not so bad, but then Leicester and then Arsenal. Those 6, I could see you coming out of that with 4 or 5 points.
So
maybe.
let's turn that then, and let's say someone is picking Dalot based on wildcarding before Liverpool in game week 3 and just looking at going against Brighton and Brentford. I'd say it's not impossible that United keep back-to-back clean sheets in the first 2. Would I expect them to? No. But they won 2-0 against Brighton last year, and they were 3-0 up at Brentford, and probably the only reason they conceded a goal was because they took the foot off the gas and lost a bit of concentration.
It's not like, I see what you're saying. They could keep 2 clean sheets, but like you said in the second half of your statement that completely negates the first half, do you expect them to? No, I don't expect them to. I expect Brighton to score, and I expect Brentford to score. And that just means that, could they? Sure, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a 20-1 at best for 2 clean sheets for Man United in those 2 games.
20-1. Is that the odds you want to give me?
For 2 clean sheets.
20-1 you want to offer me? How many zeros can I have?
You think it's a less chance than that?
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, because I'll sell that for a lot less for another bookie, mate. I don't hate it as short term. I guess I think it has to be short term as well, because I also think, and you might correct me, Gary, I feel like you might even buy a right back between now and the window closing. I'd add as well. Is that fair?
Yeah, we might. I mean, we've not really necessarily been linked with many. But yeah, I suppose it is an area. But the fullback positions have been a concern for a while, really. So yeah, it wouldn't be a massive surprise if we buy a right back. But we've probably got bigger. Especially if this Ronaldo saga rumbles on, we might need a striker. Obviously, you got the De Jong saga that's going on. If we don't buy De Jong, presumably we must. Well, I would hope we've got a backup option lined up somewhere. So I wouldn't be massively surprised if we buy a right back, but I think realistically it probably will be Dalot that starts the season.
Okay. Any love for Anthony Elanga?
No.
As someone who might gain a regular starting spot this season?
No, I don't think so. I think given that he's going to have to compete with Rashford, Sancho, Martial if Ronaldo stays, obviously, and plays in the wide roles. Elanga he was decent last season. He was new, young. Scored a couple of important goals, but he's not technically that great. You know, he doesn't sort of strike a ball very well. He's not. I can't really explain it. I just can't really. I think he'll be a good squad player, but I can't see him playing enough games. I mean, I don't know how much is he in FPL? Is he 5 million? Is it 5 million? Yeah, I think there's better options at 5.
Oh, it's certainly nailed options. That's for
precisely.
definite.
Yeah.
Let's finish with Bruno. What do we expect of him now? Again, this time last year. Can't go without Bruno.
I know,
I don't think I've seen him in a single team on Twitter. I don't think.
No, I think he's £10 million, isn't he, on the nose, isn't he? So you're paying a lot of money there for someone. I mean, Suj just read out the first 6. You're probably never going to captain him.
Leeds at home 8 is a week where you could make a case. Other than that, no.
Yeah. So, yeah, and again, his returns last season weren't too bad. Were they 10 goals, was it? And 12
I would say I don't think you need to be captaining him at 10 million. My argument last year about the 12 million was I wasn't going to go there because I'd looked at it and went, there's 1 week out of 14 was how we'd looked at it and said I'd be captain. And actually, as it turned out, by the time it came round, the 1 week that we would have been, everyone was going towards Ronaldo, weren't they? Because he just joined for the Newcastle game. So that was one where I was looking at going, well, I'm not paying 12 million for that because that's one of my 2 premiums. And he's never going to be the choice from a captaincy, basically. So I think at 10, you don't have to. I think that the same would apply to Raheem Sterling. It's not in the bracket where you've got to be doing it. It won't work for me. I mean, put it this way: if I had to start the season with Fernandes or Sterling, I'd start with Sterling to tell you the truth.
Oh, I would. I think Sterling's great. I mean, obviously we don't know how he'll settle in at Chelsea, but I think he's such an underrated fantasy asset. Sterling is, he's guaranteed goals and assists every season.
Did you triple captain him?
Last season I didn't. Yeah. I have triple captained him I triple captained him.
Gary was in my DMs like all of every March. What's this City double going to be?
Yeah,
it's like you were looking for Sterling all the time.
No, I triple captained him a few years ago when City beat Arsenal 3-1 and Aguero got a hat trick. I triple captained him then. He got 2 assists for me that day, and I think they played Everton in the midweek, and I don't think he did anything. But that triple captained him then. But no, last season I triple captained.
Bowen, Salah.
No, I didn't triple captain that. No.
You know where De Bruyne, because he'd remember.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, I tell you what, I triple
best mates with Andy Martin if you want.
Yeah. 8 million screenshots. No, I triple captained. I triple captained Harry Kane on the last day. Actually, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, which wasn't a disaster in the end, but yeah, I probably should have done it on a doubler. But because I was using my chips at all odd times, it just never fell. So yeah, I think he got me 30 points. Kane.
Okay.
Does Bruno need to step up though? Is it fair to say, because I think we can get blinded by the fantasy side of it, did he have a bad season?
No, I don't think he did. I think the problem with him is that he can go through spells in matches and through the season where he doesn't look that good a player, if that makes sense. He likes spraying the ball about, and if that goes wrong and you don't get the goal with it, I mean, even the season when he was, a massive option for everyone, when he got 18 goals, how many times did he have matches where people, you'd see it when on Twitter and things like that, people going, oh, another Bruno captain failed, he's been awful. And then, in the last 20 minutes, it'd be an assist and a penalty and an assist.
Penalty.
Yeah, I mean, I always remember when we played Newcastle the season before last at St James's Park, and I think he missed a penalty. That's and everyone was going, oh, captain fail, oh, Fernandes fraud and all that. And then before you knew it, he was dreadful. He was giving the ball away
for 2 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah, goal and 2 assists by the end, and he's got 17 points as a captain. And he's a funny one like that. I mean, I still think he created the most chances of any player in the league last season. So I don't think he had a bad season last season. I just think that
he set the bar very high, hadn't he?
He set the bar high. I mean, then he scored a hat trick on the first day, and then probably wasn't really an option apart from when he got the 2 against Villa. But again, that was when Ronaldo wasn't playing. So it might just be a coincidence. But
Emi Martinez decided to let one through his leg,
yeah,
by the way.
of course, yeah. But it does seem to be that if Ronaldo's not playing, he's not a bad sort of, almost like a talisman for us and worth a go. But
that makes him someone we should keep our eye on.
Yeah,
I don't think he should be out of our thoughts. He's probably my point. I think, again, I've not seen him in anyone's team. I don't think many are going to start the season with him. But there are little runs where I think we can look, and it doesn't have to involve the captaincy now, in my opinion. You can go there. But yeah, again, to repeat, it would be Sterling out the 2 if I started there.
Yeah.
Gary, at the start of the show, you said 5th and a trophy. Is that where you think you'll finish, or where you want to finish?
No, I think obviously trying to win a trophy is a sort of a minimum every season, but they've got to try and finish top 4. I don't think they will finish top 4, but that's got to be the aim. But
realistic expectation, 6th.
Realistic, I think 6th. Yeah, I think Spurs' business has been good, and they were already a good side anyway. Spurs have got a better manager than us as well. So I can't see Spurs finishing out the top 4. Obviously, Liverpool and City are nailed on.
Yeah.
And then, Chelsea could slip out the top 4. I mean, it wouldn't be a massive surprise if, Tuchel as a tantrum and
we've discussed it.
That wouldn't be. We've all just said how good Sterling is, but if he doesn't settle in as well and doesn't get the 15, 20 goals. There's not a lot of goals in that team, is there? Mount chips in and Havertz chips in, but so you could see Chelsea slip out possibly, but then you still got Arsenal to contend with. So I'd be surprised if we finish top 4.
Where do you think for Suj?
6th.
I think
6 or 7.
I've been I can't see United finishing top 4. What I would say is, cast your minds back to this time last year, and nobody thought that United would finish outside the top 4, having finished 2nd, and some of the incomings, it was very much a Tottenham and Arsenal they can't get in. Generally, is how it looked this time last year. And I think for United to get in, it needs at least 1, possibly 2 of the London clubs to have a really bad season. It needs something like Chelsea to implode and Antonio Conte to implode, because I do generally believe at this moment Arsenal are much stronger than United. So I think it probably needs 2 for it to be possible. I think 5th would actually be a good finish for United this year. I think 6 is the minimum expectation, and it's what it should be. But I also think if United see progression this year, if the football's better, if we get more consistency, if they have a plus goal difference, a comfortable plus goal difference, and look like this time next year, they can sit here and go, we can get in the top 4, then I think that's okay for where United would be in 12 months. I don't think it's impossible that you'd fall out the top 6 if a West Ham, a Leicester, a Newcastle, even a Brighton, if they could find consistency, could cause some danger. Because if you finish on a similar points total to last year, there's every chance that might not be enough for 6th.
Yeah, definitely.
So I would say 6th, because I find it difficult at the moment to see you finishing above any of the 3 London clubs.
Yeah, agree.
But if Antonio Conte might go to Real Madrid in October, and then I think you'll finish above us, right? Shit will happen. Shit will happen.
Yeah.
Gary, do you want to tell the listeners where they can follow you on Twitter if they don't already?
It's at Is My Cat Playing.
Is My Cat, CAP, of course, not Katzuma's cat. On Twitter. Thank you once again for joining us on Correspondent Week, and of course you'll be up first on Clash of the Correspondents with Sam from Brighton, from my understanding as well. No, I'm sure that's what you said.
First I've heard. So
this Gary, I don't know how we survived. Literally, Gary Mantle on the Chelsea pod. I literally did the big build up. Clash of the Correspondents returns August the 10th. Chelsea versus Tottenham. Was you a part of that conversation or not?
What did you say at the end of the Brighton pod with Sam? First week up. against Manchester United.
Yeah, that's the first fucking fixture.
I thought you said it was the first clash of the correspondents. You just had it as the first.
No. Gary gets the pleasure of 3-5-0.
Yeah, I've got the Arsenal one, haven't I?
Ahead of week 6. Yeah.
Yeah. Keen
We will definitely know if Ronaldo is not a Man United player by that point. We think, because I think that's deadline day.
Yeah. Oh, is it? All right. Okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
We're heading down to your manor now, James, for the next episode. So if anybody's interested in any Spurs assets, then you do need to stay tuned for the next episode. Subscribe.
No one's interested in any Spurs assets, are they? Skip it.
True.
Skip it.
Make sure you subscribe.
The one thing I do keep seeing when I see drafts without Spurs players, it's normally a comment that says, "I'm not comfortable having no Spurs players." It's normally literally what comes with the screenshot. So
I'm contemplating having Son and Kane in mine and just flipping one of them, but I don't know how realistic that is really. But I think you've got to have one of them.
We'll discuss the possibility.
Yeah, lovely.
Good. Stay safe. Ciao for now.
Cheers, Gary. Good luck this season, mate. Cue music,
Cheers,
please,
everyone.
man child.